Hey everyone, what's up? You know, I've got about 4 hours and 9 minutes before I have to leave for work. Um, but I want to talk about something here. I looked at the ToonZone Net forums, and quite frankly, there was something on there. Somebody had done a topic at the General Animation Discussion, or ToonZone.com, whatever you call it. And what they brought up was a topic on Starlight Glimmer's Reformation. In other words, her being reformed in the current season. Now, basically, this was a interesting topic because a lot of people did chime in on it, and some basically agreed with the fact that they didn't like how it was being done. Some were okay with it, and the main purpose for this topic, the main reason for this topic was basically the fact that there's a YouTuber who we're gonna keep anonymous, who does reviews of the series and of the episodes, but refuses to do reviews of episodes with Starlight Glimmer in them. Just getting me some coffee there. But like I said, refuses to do episodes with Starlight Glimmer in them because this reviewer, this MLP fan, doesn't like her. He doesn't care for her. He doesn't like her. He or she or whoever they are wants her off the show. Wants her gone. And there are some people that do agree with him, like I mentioned earlier, but there are some that don't. And like I said, there are some that agree with him and there are some that don't. And those that agree with him basically feel the same way. But I think there's a reason why some people feel this way. See, long story short, Starlight Glimmer, apparently in the eyes of some, is being shoved down everybody's throats when she has an episode dedicated to her. She's being shoved down everybody's throats, and it's like nothing really is, I guess, being accomplished or anything. I don't really know. But nobody really cares for her. But there are fans that do. Fans that actually do care about her. So it's kind of a half and half deal. But I think there's a reason why. You see, I've talked about this somewhat, and I'm sure other people may agree with it as well. You see, I think the biggest concern I think they have, the biggest concern, if you will, is they have a feeling that Starlight Glimmer, from the way she's being presented in season 6, when she has an episode she appears in, and somewhat is like the main focus. Starlight Glimmer, to them, might be how do I word this? Is probably being positioned, or maybe being positioned, to take over the leadership role of Twilight Sparkle. Hear me out. We all know the movie's coming out next year. Now, usually there are some shows that if they have a movie coming, or they have some kind of big event coming, some major event-changing story arc or whatever coming, usually a series or the creative staff will set something up to where you're going to have some significant changes take place afterwards. Now, this does kind of fall into the same category as what was mentioned at that Russian PonyCon on that happened about a month or two ago, where they actually showed still images and promotional images and whatever of the movie, and kind of gave an idea of what the movie was going to be about. And one of the things they said that was going to happen, one of the first things they said that was going to happen with the movie, is the characters were going to go through some changes. Now, we know that somewhat in the movie they're going to, change into different creatures, different creatures of every kind, maybe shapeshift into different objects. We don't know. But the point is that when they said significant changes, and you kind of heard, and according to the person that was reporting this, you kind of heard like a groan or a moan. It's like they knew something was up. And again, this plays into maybe why some people don't like Starlight Glimmer, and maybe why this fan doesn't like Starlight Glimmer. Maybe it's because they feel, like I mentioned, that she's being positioned possibly to take over Twilight Sparkle's role as the leader of the main six. Now, this also falls under the category of possible changes to the main six as well. Now, usually when a character is not pushed, but kind of moved aside, and another character is brought in to fill that gap, that character still shows up. That character still has a role to play in some shape or form. When you take a look at Celestia and Luna and Candace, yeah, they don't appear in every episode. But they appear when they're needed. They appear if a story is necessary if it's necessary for them to appear in the story. That is when they show up. They are part of the main cast, but they only show up when needed. Now, the thing is though, with that said, and I know I've said that a lot, so I apologize, but with that said, it seems that Twilight Sparkle might be being pushed into that position where she'll end up sort of more in that role, more so than she is now. I mean, there are episodes where she's not the lead. She's not, like I said, she's not the lead at all. She's not even in an episode sometimes, like she was when the show first began. But when she's in them because she becomes an integral part of that episode. She becomes an integral part, if not a main part. Now, here's the thing. With Starlight Glimmer, it seems like they're trying to position her to be the next Twilight for the series. But then, if Twilight is like one of the main changes to the main six, where she's not going to be seen as much anymore, but she'll still be an integral part of the show in some ways when necessary, the same could be said for several other characters. Now, in my opinion, I've projected characters like Rarity and Rainbow Dash to probably make less appearances in the next few seasons after the movie. Because let's be honest, we know there's going to be a season 7 that's going to help lead into the movie. And there's a possibility that we're going to get a season 8 that takes place after the movie, so it can do a connection together. But what I'm trying to say here is, after that, if you're going to have significant changes to the main six, you need to have characters that take over those positions, those spots that are left open by characters like Rainbow Dash and Rarity and Twilight. And like I said, Starlight Glimmer seems to be the one that could be in the running to take over the role that Twilight has. But then you have the opening for Rainbow Dash and Rarity, who would come in and take that. Now, some might say Trixie could be in nomination for one of those positions. That could be true. So there you would have Starlight and Trixie to fill the gap there. But then who would fill in that third gap? Some might say, well, why don't you just let Spike fill that gap in? And that could happen too. But there are other possibilities. You can have your first male character in the main six. In characters like Soren or Cheese Sandwich or whoever could be, added in. So that's a possibility. You could have a new character. You could have a returning character. Like a lot of fans want Sunset Shimmer to come in. And there you go. You have your three unicorns, possible future alicorns right there, along with the three of the original main six characters in Applejack, Fluttershy, and Pinkie Pie. So there you go. You have a significant change there. No doubt about it. A huge significant change. You still keep, because in a sense, you still keep you still keep half of the original main six with those other three members of with those other three original members still part of the show, still part of the cast, still part of the story when necessary. But now you have this new main six. Now you have these newer members to help in these adventures and be on these adventures, be on these missions, along with the other trio from the main six, from the original main six. So basically, you have a blending of new and old. And I know to some people this might sound familiar, and it does sound familiar. If you used to watch Power Rangers, and you can catch it on Netflix just like you can with Friendship is Magic, but if you used to watch Power Rangers, you might remember around the second season, the later half of the second season, and this was due to some behind-the-scenes issues as well. The three of the original Power Rangers, Jason, Zach, and Trini. All right. From a storyline perspective, have been chosen to take part in a World Peace Conference. So what happens? Three new characters that get introduced basically in the first episode of this two-parter, and it was a two-parter. Rocky, Adam, and Aisha end up becoming the new Red, Black, and Yellow Rangers. So that happened there. And basically, you still had that same kind of dynamic. It was just you had a blending of the old. It's just that you still had that sort of team dynamic. You still had that team dynamic. You still had that story dynamic that made the show popular. And in a sense, it kind of refreshened the show. It kind of softly rebooted it a little bit, and kind of gave it a slight makeover. And that's what could happen here, if that's what's going to occur. And like I said, I think that's why some fans don't like Starlight Glimmer, and why they don't feel her Reformation story arc in this season, when it's presented, is being done well. Or they just don't flat out like it at all, like they don't like the character at all. Because they know potentially what's going to happen. And what potentially is going to happen is Starlight Glimmer will probably take over the position of Twilight Sparkle as sort of like that leader of the main six. And that in time, you'll probably have Rarity and Rainbow Dash slowly disperse and go their own ways, but still be an integral part of the show when necessary. And thus their positions could be occupied by two new characters, or reprising characters that could become main characters, like Trixie, and maybe even a returning Sunset Shimmer, or whoever else they bring in. Those are possibilities. And when you think about it, it's sort of a good thing. Because let me put it to you like this. Okay? Let me put it to you like this. In my opinion, I think anybody listening will agree. I don't think Power Rangers would have lasted as long as it did Well, as long as it has. If it wasn't for that, uh, if it wasn't for that episode, if it wasn't for that episode that involved the characters Jason, Zack, and Trini transferring the powers of the red, yellow, and black Ranger to Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, and letting them take over as the red, black, and yellow Rangers. I don't think, honestly, my opinion, I don't think Power Rangers would have been as successful if that had not happened, because when that happened, they basically, like I said earlier, did sort of a soft retcon reboot, but basically in a way gave the series sort of a slight makeover, a new fresh coat of paint that was needed. Because now with that new fresh coat of paint and that new makeover and that slight soft retcon reboot, the show continued forward and was able to have all its spin-offs, even to this day, be brought over from Japan and Americanized. So when one thinks about it, if we as fans, as bronies, Pegasisters, or just overall fans in general of anything animation or anything Hasbro, if we want MLP FIM to continue on for several seasons more, maybe a record-setting 10 seasons, then I think in a sense, if, in my opinion, if the Starlight Glimmer Reformation sub-arc, because it's not in your face as much as you think it is, but the Starlight Glimmer Reformation sub-arc that is featured on occasions currently in season 6, if its reason is to build her up so that she can end up being the one that takes over for Twilight Sparkle, and then later on, maybe after the movie or going towards the movie, you have characters like Trixie, maybe Sunset Shimmer or someone new come in and take over the spots of Dash and Rarity, because now they've achieved their goals and they've moved on to, in a sense. And so as you get closer from a storyline perspective, you can kind of have them move on where they don't have as much time anymore, but now they're willing to pass their knowledge, their powers, or whatever they have over to these new members. I think could really help, because in a sense you're giving the show sort of a slight, if not soft, revamp, reboot, retcon, or sort of a soft revamp, and you're basically, after 6+, 7+ seasons, you're giving it a bit of a makeover and a fresh coat of paint that's going to make it look like new, or make it feel fresh and new. Sorry about that, I was getting more coffee. Like I said, it's going to make you feel fresh and new. That's what it's going to do, whether anybody likes it or not. So, honestly, do I think the Starlight Glimmer Reformation sub-arc here in Season 6 is bad? Well, I haven't really watched Season 6 that much to kind of get the idea, get the gist of it. But from what I can tell from some people, the episodes that she has been focused in, some of them, if not most of them, have been good and decent. I think one person said there was probably one that was bad, but a majority of those that she's been in and focused in on have been good. And again, in my opinion, if the goal is to set her up to kind of have Twilight pass the torch to her to be the new leader of the main 6, and this slowly sets up maybe the leaving or the passing of the torch from Rarity and Dash to characters like Trixie and Sunset Shimmer, or Trixie and someone new, or something like that, then so be it. Because in my opinion, and I think some might agree, it could help give the show that slight revamp, that fresh coat of paint, that makeover that it needs to keep it fresh and new and relevant. So, but that's just my opinion on it. I mean, I can understand why some people don't like certain characters, or certain characters being forced upon us because, oh, we want to do this, or because we want to prove that they've changed and all that. To me, there's a reason. Now, unless they throw a curveball at us at the end of season 6, like I said, there is a reason. Starlight Glimmer's got this sub-arc of being reformed, of trying to redeem herself and truly be reformed from her old ways. So that to me, everything I've said here is the reason, in my opinion. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, hey, I don't mind being wrong. But in my opinion, if we want the show to continue on, we all have to agree that it does need to be slightly revamped and get that fresh coat of paint and that makeover it needs to kind of keep going. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'll provide a link to the topic which I was talking about here about why some people like Starlight Glimmers, why some people don't like Starlight Glimmer's Reformation sub-arc here in Season 6. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you agree possibly with the fact that the reason this is happening, the reason she's got this sub-arc, is because maybe she is being positioned to have Twilight pass the torch to her? Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. And I am out.